Okay, got
Why,
it.
thank you. Hey, welcome to the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show. I am Billy. That is
Hey, I'm Joe. Good to see you.
Joe Carney is the host of the podcast Indies Local Flavor. Google it, find it on iTunes or any other podcast platform that you guys listen to, please.
Yes, last week we talked about Star Wars, so it it was a really good episode. Lots of fun.
And so we are going to continue that. Joe
Yeah,
said, Billy, can you come up with a top 10 or top? I'm assuming it's top 20.
I didn't do anything. I just wanted to have a conversation.
Oh, well, I did a top 20 of my favorite Star Wars moments, ideas, characters, situations, action figures, actors, storyline, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, that's fine.
Man, the first time that I have something all set in stone here, Joe, who I thought maybe one of these days was going to stretch it to a top 30,
I have a
is
top.
it does not have a top 20 plus one.
No, no, I have nothing, Your Honor. I know nothing," said Colonel Clink.
I Hogan's Heroes, man. I'm surprised it's still on TV on Me TV or wherever it's doing its reruns.
Yeah, yeah, funny show.
Joe, tell everybody a little bit of why you got into your program. What's your show about? What kind of audience do you think is looking for your show? And just give us a little bit of rundown on it.
Um, I think my biggest audience is guys who like sports. I'm trying to broaden that. It's sports, music, movies. Have a couple episodes about mental health. I'm trying to broaden. That's why I did the Star Wars episodes without a list, because because in the NFL offseason, I'm trying to broaden that to hopefully get more female listeners by doing things that aren't so sports dominated, so I can get maybe more of a female listenership. So, but some good news from Indies Local Flavor. We did pick up Vienna, Austria, and we picked up Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates here recently. So that was a big deal.
And when you talk about mental health, are you talking about quiet riot and mental health will drive you mad, or are you talking about actual mental health issues in the United States or in the country today?
Well, we do hair bands in music genre, but mental health in the medical issues. So yes.
Bang your head. Do, do. Well, you know what? This is kind of cool. You can go to the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show on Facebook, subscribe. Keeping the Nostalgia Live show on YouTube, please subscribe. This will be interesting because Joe doesn't have a top 21, so this will be interesting because Joe is a professional at Star Wars and at football.
Yes.
I am a professional at basketball.
Yes.
And I'm getting to be a professional in talking about music, hence the quiet riot, bang your head statement.
Yeah. Who was the lead singer for that?
Kevin DuBrow.
I saw him. I didn't go up to him, but I think I said this before. I saw him when I was flying back to Indy from LA. I've got family in LA. And he was waiting on his flight, and he had the worst hair weave of all time, but it was him. So
what a MTV, the early days, and
yes,
just and made Kevin DuBrow rest in peace, because I think he's not with us any longer, but speaking of Kevin DuBrow, it's fun to watch, and we're not getting any funds from this or any royalties from this, but D. Snyder and the D. Snyder's family was on Celebrity Family Feud the other night, and it was kind of interesting to watch Celebrity Family Feud with Twisted Sister, which, you know, I think of Twisted Sister when I hear Quiet Riot.
You know the big, well, D. Snyder and Twisted Sister had many hits in the 80s, but do you know what he was famous for with his speech?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the parental guidance or parental objections on albums, cassettes, and then, of course, into CDs with Al Gore's wife, Tipper.
Yes, Tipper Gore and her buddies thought they had him nailed when D. Snyder was going to stand up and fight against music censorship, and D. Snyder slam dunked it on them. So that I clapped very loudly on that one.
D. Snyder and him and his wife and his kid looked fantastic on the Celebrity Family Feud, but like I said, we're not getting that from. So it's interesting that Joe doesn't have a top 21. So we're just going to have a conversation. And like I said, Joe's a professional at Star Wars and football, and I'm a professional at basketball. And I think I'm not someone asked me the other day, said, who are you going to have next on your show? You know, I'm trying to have Rita Coolidge. I'm trying to have Carly Simon. I'm trying to have Harry Spillman, who played for the Indianapolis Indians, played for the Cincinnati Reds. You know, and someone said, why did you choose those people?
Yeah.
And I said, because I have memories with them.
Sure, of course.
So it was interesting that I came to that so quickly. It's not because I want to be, I want to keep the nostalgia alive. It's because I want to talk to these people and let them know that I have memories of them. And that's why I care for it and want to keep the nostalgia alive.
Man, it'd be great if you got Carly Simon on there. That would be an outstanding interview.
Yeah, his scarf was apricot.
Quite.
And for those people who do not know, the other singer on You're So Vain was Mick Jagger. So
yeah, you told me that. I didn't know that either.
Just to let you know. And another thing I was thinking about before we get into our conversation about Star Wars was Thunder Island by Jay Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because there was Thunder Island.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so let me start off, and then we can go kind of banter going back and forth on Star Wars.
Sure.
That's okay with
Sure.
you. And number 20 on my list, this is interesting. We've never done this. Is the original Kenner, I think, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke, and their push lightsabers on their action figures.
Yes, they had a slot in their arm so you could push it upwards so this lightsaber would appear.
And as a kid, you thought that was some pretty cool stuff.
Oh gosh, yes.
Now, as an adult, you're like, that looks stupid. It looks like, he's slit his wrist all the way from the elbow down.
Suicidal thoughts, right?
Yeah, but as a kid, you're like, man, that's some cool stuff. Let me go ahead and extend that.
Yeah. They had the commercial for the first land speeder on Instagram yesterday, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. They say it's the new Luke Skywalker land speeder, and it looks like it's floating on air. And I'm like,
you know what? That is kind of funny that you said that, because I have that at my number 12 is that land speaker, and they had it on those. Yeah. In the movie, it was fantastic.
Oh yes.
Man, that's some cool stuff. It's actually hovering or on air, and they did a really, really good job of making the toy too on the little springs and little wheels.
Yes, it had pop-up wheels that you could, and that were pretty durable. That you could ride around your cement drive or in the street or whatever, where you played.
Concrete is what my dad used to call cement. Concrete from the movie Night of the Hunter. My dad used to have a lot of sayings. We won't go into those, but That is number 12 on my list. You know, the thing that kind of, yeah, I saw it at Eastgate Mall, the original in 1977, stood in line. And, you know, as a kid, even to this day,
Mhm.
you think about Star Wars and the franchise and the movies, you know, especially the first three, even to this day, you're like, this stuff could have really happened. I have no idea why I fantasize about that, or, you know, it really did happen. Maybe it's because I'm a historian. Maybe I have no clue. I know that sounds really dumb.
No, it doesn't, because, you know, if you follow science at all, there's supposed to be a duplicate planet.
And speaking of that, my number 19 is, I was always impressed with, and I may get this wrong, the two moons or the two suns on Tatooine.
Two suns setting
And
on
you're like,
Tatooine.
you know, you were looking at it on Star Wars as a kid, you're like,
Yeah, you were like, what?
yeah. And, you know, some people probably got into science or got into space or the planets from there, possibly.
Oh, I'm sure NASA had a big influx of people wanting to be part of their program because of Star Wars.
Yes. So now, you know, I'm going to twist it here a little bit, Joe, and I'd like your
Okay.
thoughts, but,
Sure.
my number 18 is something that's probably hated by a lot of people,
Okay.
but I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I have memories of going to see Phantom Menace. I have,
Oh,
I thoroughly enjoyed it because of the wait, the anticipation. Speaking of Carly Simon, anticipation. You know, just you know, for that, the movie could have been crap.
yeah.
But and it was semi crap. But I am really enjoyed it, and that's Jar Jar Binks. This is what makes our show fun. That probably was not on your list. It would have been on the top 20 things I don't like about Star Wars.
My number one toilet paper list, Jar Jar Binks.
Or you get the Jar Jar Binks head on top of the Pepsi cup from Taco Bell.
Yeah. I'm not a big Ewoks guy, but Lucas put Jar Jar Binks in there for the kiddies again. And he got major negative feedback on that. But, you know, and then when you go on to the second movie, when he says, yes, the emperor needs to take control of the entire empire and does away with all of the republic in the Senate, I'm like, and then there was the theory that he was a Sith. That's on the internet, that he was a dark Sith, which I don't buy. Yeah, not a big Jar Jar guy.
Misa thinking you're wrong.
Misa think he's a nutsa.
Maybe he was a fool and I'm a fool, and that's why I enjoyed watching the fool.
True indeed.
Now we'll go to number 17, and this is fun. I enjoy this, and I did not know. Everybody has a sidekick. There's Batman. There's Robin. There's
right.
Lone Ranger, the Tonto, and then there's Jabba the Hutt and Salacious B, his sidekick.
Yes.
Salacious B. Crumb.
Yes.
The giggling fool on the side, which eventually gets, I think, zapped by R2-D2.
Yes, right in the eyes. Right. Right in the eyes, yes.
But that's Salacious. So that's a cool name, man. If I can go back, I'd probably rename my son Andy. Salacious.
See, I always thought his sidekick was Bib Fortuna, the pink character with kind of like the elephant tusk wrapped around his head. So, but yeah, but he kind of laughed at everybody. Kind of the old witch's laugh. So yeah, definitely.
You know, Jabba probably had diabetes, and that's probably why he was like you and I.
When he ate the frogs.
Yeah. Too much sugar, bro. Okay, yeah. So Another thing on my list.
Can I add one more thing?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'm sorry. I don't let me hog it.
You're fine. You're fine. Mel Brooks called Jabba Pizza the Hut, and he would like eat himself, and that was like killing me on Spaceballs. Killing me.
You know, Spaceballs, great. You know, but I never really got into it. I just
Yeah.
You know,
You gotta watch it again. You gotta watch it again.
Yeah, Pizza the Hut and
yeah, yogurt, and you know.
But Mel Brooks, what a fantastic mind that he has.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So, and interrupt me anytime you want, but
I'm sorry.
My 16 is, I love it that they had Adam Driver in there, who's, you know, Kylo Ren, and you know the only reason is, why do you think?
Why do you think he was there?
No. Why do you think that's one of my favorite top 20 things?
You know, the old version, people would talk about that, they'd call it ooey pooey, but he went to IUPUI. He didn't get his diploma, but I believe he's in the acting school of IUPUI.
Yes, he's got an Indiana connection, 6 degrees of separation, and you know, of course, I have everyone trained in the house, and I think I have everyone trained on our podcast and YouTube channel that, you know, when I go, where's he from? Yeah, you first say
Indiana, state of Indiana.
There you go, man. There you go. That's and once again, we're not getting paid for promoting Indiana.
And he left IUPUI because he got the opportunity, and I think he got his degree from Juilliard.
Ooey pooey, ooey pooey. And probably the second most famous person that went to Ooey Pooey was George Hill, who played for the Philadelphia 76ers, who laid a turd. Yes. They laid a turd.
You know what? I like the Sixers. I can't stand Embiid. Can't stand him. So
I am going to stop from there and go to number 15, which is the Ewoks.
Okay.
And you know, it took a while to get used to the Ewoks and be like, you know what, this is going to be a part of Star Wars. This is cool. This is a different approach. This is a different take from it. But the Ewoks would probably be on my list. Probably be on your list of top 20 things you probably disagree with Star Wars, including Jar Jar Binks. Agree? Disagree?
I see why, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Ewoks. I understand why Lucas did it. And over the years, I've kind of softened my stance on the Ewoks, but coming from Empire Strikes Back and all of, you know, the Empire just steamrolling the Rebel Alliance, and then you got the Rebel Alliance coming back with an Ewok factor. I'm like, okay, it is what it is, I guess.
And going into number 14, and I hope I'm not going too fast. I don't think I am.
No, you're fine.
The casting of Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He had a love-hate relationship with that. That was brilliant. George Lucas cast outside of Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill, and James Earl Jones, he cast British actors, all British actors around that cast, and that's what he did, and that's why Alec Guinness got that role. He had a love-hate relationship because he got upset that that's what people remembered him most for, because he had a huge catalog of movies before Star Wars, but he was amazing in that role.
Agree. I like your and thank you for explaining that. You know, rest in peace, and if people who are in the dead can hear me, the bridge over River Kwai.
Yes.
You know, so but I just think that and that rolls right into number 14 or number 13, which is the casting of James Earl Jones, which I don't think had to do any other movies or any other voiceovers in its entire life.
I don't know what list this was on, so please excuse me if I'm not giving proper credit, but he was rated, Darth Vader's rated the #1 villain of all time in any genre. And George Lucas got that idea from the family head of samurais, and that's where they got the masks from. So I was fortunate enough to go to Chicago when they had the Star Wars exhibit at the Science Museum, and they talked about the origins of Darth Vader, and it's based off this samurai family and samurai swords, and that's where Jedi fighting came around. The only thing I don't like about James Earl Jones, and don't get me wrong, I love James Earl Jones, and he was also the voice of the main guy of Jar Jar Binks and the general. The general. I don't remember his last name. He's also that voice. Right? He would never do the voice of Darth Vader for anyone. He said he forgot the lines. So, but anyway, he's a force to be reckoned with.
No pun intended.
As quite as Darth Vader.
And we've already talked about the land speeder, and that was my number 12. But my number 11,
mm-hmm.
I fooled with it a little bit, and I thought maybe number 2 or number 1, but I put it at number 11. People, if you can tell me how I come up with my top 20s, or Joe comes up with his top 20s, you can probably tell us how to get lottery numbers. So please do. But it's Star Wars, Bill Murray on Saturday Night Live. And it's probably dumber than crap, but it's just in there, burnt Star Wars. Talking about.
Yeah, when he did that, the first season of Star Wars, it's a classic. Whether you love it or that's a love or hate thing. You either love it or you hate it, and I love it. So it's very funny.
Then that rolls right into, and I know it's interesting to have this list and you not have a list, but talk to somebody who really loves the category that we're talking about. And for some reason, I love the name Uncle Owen and his wife, Aunt.
I'm drawn.
Is it Beru? And
What's that?
Aunt Beru, and I think he said if Luke Skywalker wasn't back, there was going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, right.
And that just line is one of those other things that are kind of like in your mind going, damn, he's kind of like my dad.
Yeah. No, his aunt was nice. His uncle was a piece of work, literally. So he wanted Luke to be a farmer. Luke wasn't going to be a farmer, and he knew Luke wasn't going to be a farmer, but he tried to protect him because he knew where, and you didn't know this when you saw Star Wars in 1977. You didn't know that at all. But his uncle knew how he became to foster Luke Skywalker. So he was trying to shield him from his family.
Which rolls kind of into, I love the way they cast and the way they continue to use Kenny Baker as R2-D2, who just passed just recently at age 81.
And
87, I think, 87 years old.
Yeah, he was amazing in his role. And I told this on my show last week. There was a picture on social media. It was a side-by-side shot of George Lucas. And George Lucas, in the first 3 movies, used models. And they showed him in the center of this picture with a whole room of models around him for the first 3 movies, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And then for the prequels, he had like 3 models around him because everything else was computer generated CG. So R2 lives on. You know, he's going to live on forever. I'm sorry, the actor passed away, but that was C-3PO and R2D2.
And that is interesting. You said C-3PO because that rolls into my number 8. So continue, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
C-3PO and R2D2, when you saw them on screen for the first time when you were a kid in the original Star Wars, was totally cutting edge. That was like nothing else you ever saw before. And George Lucas is a genius. So
yes, and if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong. People put it in the comment section. You know, all 4 people that are watching.
we need to work on that. We need to work on that.
And that is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, C-3PO is the only character to be in all 10 films.
Yes. Well, I think it's more like,
or maybe it's Anthony Daniels himself has been in all 10.
Right. Yes, it's either his character or his voice is in every Star Wars movie. So, yes.
And that's interesting because someone who really didn't care for C-3PO or didn't have a kind of had a love-hate relationship, and that was you know, how lucky one was Harrison Ford for getting this, because he has rode the Star Wars wave all his life. Nothing against Indiana Jones, nothing against any of the movies that he has made, but what a trip what a life that he's had because of Star Wars.
I saw a picture of him on social media one time that said, I've beaten Darth Vader, I've beaten the Nazis, so everybody else can forget you. And that was on his shirt.
Now it's interesting. I don't know if you could see this, but
A little bit.
that is Harrison Ford on the left, right, or whatever your position is, and he was helping construct Sergio Mendez's house.
Right.
Which Sergio Mendes is living all by myself.
Right.
Do. And you know who someone that didn't want to do the role, at least I understand that, is Sylvester Stallone.
Right. Correct.
Can you see Sylvester Stallone as Harrison Ford?
No, Adrian, I can't see it happening. No,
Luke. Leia.
Oh no. Oh my mercy, no.
But you know, but just think, you know, I'm assuming that all of them, especially, you know, in the original first 3, there's secrets, there's stuff they could talk about, but you know, they've been compensated and taken care of. You know, or does that make sense, or do you think?
Definitely. The way I understand it, Harrison Ford wasn't the first guy to get the role of Han Solo. He was a carpenter on the set of Star Wars, and Lucas said, "Hey, can you read for this? Can you read for this section here? We need somebody to read for it." And then he got the job. So,
and there you have it. A lady tonight.
But see, that's what I don't understand is Lucas worked with him on American Graffiti.
And was that before?
Yeah. So I don't know. So that's how all that came together.
Well, at least Lucas didn't pick Richie Cunningham as you know, Han Solo. So let's just go right into. I mean, my favorite action figures to have were R2D2, C-3PO, because they just went together like A, B, or Batman and Robin, just like I took earlier. But my next favorite is Chewbacca.
You know what I didn't have? The 12-inch figures, which was Luke, Han, Darth Vader, and Boba Fett. Those were amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. The story behind I watched this on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it, but it talked about the toys we grew up with, and on Netflix. And I don't remember I think that was the name of the title of the documentary. But the documentary said, which I'd forgotten, in 1977, when the movie came out, they didn't have any toys ready. So I never did this, but you would go to the store and they would hand you a card, and you said, we will get with you when the toys are ready. So I guess in summer of 1978, the toys were ready, and they included one of the figures from the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978 that CBS did, which you do not want to ever see. Don't ever watch that. It's a complete piece of garbage.
You know what? What was it called when you got my allowance?
Sure.
And the word allowance went from $2 to $5. It was $2 to $5 as I was growing
Right.
up, between being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I started cutting lawns and started doing stuff myself. But I would go to my dad would take me to the store and he'd go, "Oh, so what you got there?" I said, "Well, I got a Star Wars figure." And he
Right.
goes, "You have two of them and they're both the same." I said, "One to get out and play with and the other
Mhm.
to keep in a package." And I
Right.
just remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was telling my kids, I said, when I was a kid, my parents would give me $1 and I would go get comic book, a large candy bar, a pack of sports cards, and a large 16-ounce pop for $1.
Did you say pop or did you say soda?
I go with either one. Either one's fine. Whatever works. So yeah, $2 went a long way.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, a pack of baseball cards today probably are like $6.99 to
Yep.
$8.99, and we used to get them for a dime, man. I used to get them for a dime, 10
Yeah.
cents, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to get penny candy. You can't get penny candy anymore.
Golly. So that rose Chewbacca, and then we're gonna go back to Phantom Menace.
Oh, I
And
forgot Chewbacca with the 12-inch figures. He was a 12-inch figure.
what'd you say about 12 inches?
Chewbacca was a 12-inch figure. Dun-dun-dun.
So that rolls me back to Phantom Menace, and I
Yeah.
love Phantom Menace just because of the anticipation and because the time period and the memories and for some reason I was sober during that time. Maybe I should have been drunk to be able to say, hey, let's forget this. But a great character, and I don't know if you can expound on this.
Okay.
Was Darth Maul.
Yes. Yes. Who was I'm drawing a blank on this. Who was the mentor for Obi-Wan?
It was the actor Liam Neeson, and it was oh man, was escaping me right now.
Yeah, me too. So my two main problems with episode 1 is what's his name?
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his acting name.
I have no idea why I call it. I have no idea why Count Dooku comes to my mind, but it's not Count Dooku.
No.
Continue on. Let me find it for us.
Okay. My two main problems is with episode 1, and I'm doing spoilers. This is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. So, but I'm sure you have. Is Liam Neeson who's mentoring Obi-Wan, first of all, he discovers Anakin Skywalker has metachlorians that are off the chart, and he wants to train him to be a Jedi because of that. And he's one of my favorite characters too. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Neither can I. Let's see here. Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn. Thank you.
Man, that's a great Chinese restaurant. It's just right down the road, and you can get spring rolls. You can get Qui-Gon Jinn. That's okay. Oh, there we go. We're back, people. We're back.
I love the crab rangoon. So
just don't overcook.
Right. That's my two main problems with episode 1 is Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are chasing Darth Maul, and they don't know he's the Sith, and there's always two Siths. He's the apprentice Sith. So they're chasing Darth Maul in the Naboo castle where Queen Amidala is. And there's these rooms that are separated by a force field. So Qui-Gon gets ahead of Obi-Wan. So Qui-Gon ends up fighting Darth Maul first. And this is the first time we've ever seen anyone with a two-ended lightsaber. And the actor who played Darth Maul is Ray Parks. He's a martial arts expert. He's perfect for the role. And Darth Maul looks like a demon. He's got horns all over his head. So that makes him more intimidating as it's this. So he's fighting. First, he's fighting with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and they're kind of fighting to a stalemate. So Qui-Gon takes on Darth Maul by himself, and this is the part I'm upset with. Qui-Gon gets killed on a Three Stooges move when Darth Maul slaps him in the head with his fist, and Qui-Gon like freezes, and then Darth Maul stabs him through the heart. And by that time, Obi-Wan sees all this, runs into the scene, starts fighting with Darth Maul, and Darth Maul knocks him into a vacuum tube, I guess is how you'd explain that. And he holds on by one hand, and he uses the force and managed to jump up into the scene. And I disagree with this. Obi-Wan surprises Darth Maul and cuts him in half, and he falls down the tube to his death. And I'm like, neither one of those characters should have died till episode 3.
You know what? I agree with that. And I'm also going to flip my number 2 and my number 3 here. Forgive me.
Okay.
But, you know, right. The whole thing that you explained would not, and as you explained it, John Williams.
Oh man.
Absolutely, positively A+, number 1 job on it. Of course, anything that he worked on was, I mean, I even owned the 45 of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
But what a great soundtrack. Even if you don't like the prequels, you love the music, and especially with Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. That may be even a better theme than the original. But I know people are going to go shut the hell up, but
but it was interesting. It was those three characters. You know, people have their arguments about the pod race, but I like the pod race. But you know, those three characters, Obi-Wan,
Sebulba, right? Sebulba,
yeah.
He beat Sebulba.
Oh yeah, he was scum. So, but when you're talking about John Williams, he's still going on tour. So he's going on tour this summer, which is great. He's not coming to Indy, but I wish he was. But I got a trivia question for you. I collected a lot of CDs before I got into records, and I have the Star Wars CD box set. Do you know who did the theme song to the Cantina scene?
That is on my list. The number one song in mid-October 1977 was Mecco. I may be
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But continue on.
There were two songs that he did. The second one wasn't released in the movie, and they're both great. It's the do 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 do. Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Quincy Jones did that.
And my wife would call that useless information that I'm going to put in my head, but I'm not going to remember to get the tamales out tonight so that they can eat them before movie night.
Right. I love tamales. So that's the Cantina restaurant on Tatooine.
And you know, the Mecco and a number one hit in 77 just because of the craze, you know, going from John Williams to the music of Star Wars. The music of Star Wars is just will live on as long as Star Wars does, maybe even longer.
I totally agree with that. It's timeless. It really, you know, when you hear the Imperial March, boom, boom, they play that at college basketball games. So the Imperial March. So yeah, it's amazing.
You know, and we probably can expound on the music a lot more, but one of my favorite things about Star Wars, and I think it's because I really enjoyed horror movies, is that George Lucas sprinkled some people in there that we already knew, which was Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin.
He was fantastic in that movie. Fantastic. What? I'm not evacuating. What? I'm never evacuating. Full speed ahead.
Lord Vader. I think he played the Mummy. I think he played a Dracula. Of course, they pulled Christopher Lee from that also, Count Dookie or Count Dooku. You know, Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin was, and I have no idea why he's a favorite. I have no idea. I don't know if it's because my grandpa. I don't know if because he was a leader and actually could control Vader, which, you know, he couldn't. But and I know this is dumb. We're talking fantasy crap right here, but Grand Moff Tarkin was one of my favorite things of all Star Wars.
He was in Lawrence of Arabia, so
I did not know that.
He was in Lawrence of Arabia, and he was a fantastic actor and did a bunch of films. And that's the reason why he has that much stage presence, because he was in Lawrence of Arabia.
Now, do you have a clue of what my number one would be? And you probably don't, but take a shot.
Probably the line says, "You're not my father."
You know, I don't know why I fell in love with them. I don't think there were any more movies rather than the original, but they probably were. I fell in love with Tuscan Raiders.
I think they were based on an African tribe, if I remember correctly. And they were great in The Mandalorian. Did you see him in The Mandalorian?
You know what? No, I haven't. Wait, hold on. Don't get upset. You know, and people out there, if they're listening, I watch a lot of stuff with my wife, and I don't really push a lot of stuff onto my wife. And The Mandalorian is one of those things that I won't push on her. I won't talk about, and it's something I'll watch on the side when she's doing something else. But you know, that's, you know, I get
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what episode is that? That's in the second season.
Yeah.
but yeah, they're featured majorly in one episode of The Mandalorian. So it's basically the Tuscan Raiders have to team up with the local city because there's an enemy they both need to defeat. So it's really good. It's Dave with The Mandalorian is Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and Gina Carano. Cara Dune is supposed to be coming back for 2022. So, but Dave Filoni is basically the Star Wars guy now, and what he's done with, they've done things with the Tuscan Raiders I've never seen before. So it's really good.
And if you're joining us at the end, rewind all the way to the beginning because we were talking about Star Wars.
Soon we'll be making another run.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you want to really throw people off is that was Star Trek better than Star Wars? Woo!
Yeah, that's an all-day debate right there. That's a Lollapalooza all-day debate.
Well, it was interesting, Joe, to talk to you today. Joe Carney from Indy's Local Flavor. Google it on any podcast platform, especially iTunes. He has an entertaining podcast. And normally Joe comes on the show with his top 21, but I came up with my top 20 with no bonus. I was going to tell him I didn't have a bonus, but come to find out, it all went well. And we were talking about Star Wars and anything in closing statement. Oh, by the way, did you see the College Bowl trivia game with Peyton Manning?
No, I did not.
Very interesting. Peyton did good with his brother Cooper.
Did you hear the rumor about Peyton Manning and football?
No.
He may be taking a sportscaster role with Amazon Sports because they had a Phoenix Cardinals game last year that was only on Amazon Video.
Well, it's all good. Look at my forehead. It's almost as big, just where I have the camera. Just where I have a camera. And then he would wear that helmet and he'd get all red on the underneath when he'd be on the sidelines with Dundee.
Right.
But Joe Carney.
I do have one more piece of trivia if you're interested.
Please.
Do you know how The Godfather and Star Wars are related?
Please inform me.
Okay, I bought the Star Wars complete 6-episode Blu-ray collection, and it's on the bonus discs. George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola both went to the USC Film School, and they started their own production company because they were tired of all the regular film companies that were in the area, but their production company didn't last. They didn't make enough hit films or whatever. So they decided to do the mainstream film companies. And George Lucas had all of the film done for Star Wars, but he was having health problems and he ran over budget and over time. And he didn't have enough money to edit the film. So Francis Ford Coppola gave him the money to edit the movie, and that's how Star Wars got on the screen.
Wow. I think you've told me that once before, but that is a great story because if that story wasn't there, we would have had no story to talk about today.
Right, exactly.
Once again, Joe Carney with Indy's Local Flavor. Joe, may the force be with you.
Yes, may the force be with you, Billy, always.
And please go to our Facebook page, the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show, subscribe, and also go to Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show on YouTube and subscribe. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.